Hello, this is the first part of the Blender tutorial and guidelines series for the Sugar&Spite project. This series will cover project guidelines for Sugar&Spite as well as offer a tutorial for the 3D modeling and animation program Blender. This first video will address character and enemy submission for the Dropbox. The example here is the penguin, an enemy to be featured in the cemetery level of the game. As of this video's upload, the recommended format for character and enemy submissions is as follows: an image of the subject, an info section with the names of the subject, level, and creator, an action section describing what the subject is capable of, and a weakness section describing how the subject is to be defeated. If there is any other info, listed under a section titled Miscellaneous. This format should be used to ensure a clear projection of the idea. The section subject is model sheets. On the screen are various model sheets used within the project so far. A model sheet is a series of drawings of a character for the sake of study. Usually these drawings are in different angles. To make a 3D model, it is recommended to use a model sheet with an image of the front and sides of the character in T-pose. In some instances, this step can be skipped, but it is advisable to have a model sheet while modeling. The best person to draw a model sheet is usually the character designer, as they are more likely to know how the character looks in these angles. Either way, while making a model sheet, it is important to consider the character in terms of 3D space. As a last note, in the side view of the subject, extended limbs do not necessarily have to be drawn, and a circle can simply be used to show where the arms or wings would connect to the character. And now on the subject of textures. These are some of the character textures used so far. Either the UVs or textures could be finished first. It is up to the texture artist and modeler to choose which method is preferred. We will go into textures more closely during the Blender section, while we begin working with UVs for the skeleton prospector. This part will be a simple Blender tutorial of the basics. First, to edit an object, you take it into edit mode, then you can control the vertices directly. If you press G, you can move it around. If you press S, and if you press R, for scale and rotate, respectively. In the edit mode, you can choose here to change between controlling edges, faces, and vertices. You can press H at any time to hide something, and then Alt-H to bring it back up. Pressing X lets you delete vertices, edges, or faces. That's what it looks like when you delete a face. That's an edge, and that's a vertex. Camera got in the way. Over here is proportional editing. It's influence. You can use the mouse wheel to change the size. You delete one side. Over here on the right, I forgot which one it is, the wrench. You click on the wrench and activate the mirror tool. It mirrors the object. Turn on clipping and that happens. Turn it off again to do that, and then you can apply when you're ready to rig it. The rest of these modifiers are very important. Specifically, the armature and mirror modifiers are the most important. You'll probably have to use the edge split at some point too. And keep in mind, armatures have different modifiers. The IK is a modifier in Blender. Along with the different views, there's rendered and textured view, but to switch between solid and wireframe view, you can simply click Z. Click Command Z or Control Z, I guess, on a Windows computer to undo, and Control Shift Z to redo. Might be Control Y on Windows. Add objects, you go to here. You usually only need cube and plane. It's very rare to need the other ones. And that's the basics of Blender. In this next part, we will learn how to import the model sheet as a background image. First, click on the plus sign on the right of any viewport to open up the options, and then checkmark the background image option. Click open and then import the file. Once the file has been imported, you can simply open it up in another viewport. by clicking this and selecting the image. You want to position the side to make sure that it lines up to where it should be on the finished model. The side view is not as important as the front view, so it does not need to be exact. The front view, however, you'll want to get as exact as possible, going so far as using multiple decimal places.